Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the Sikh History Series Podcast, episode number 3, The Childhood of Bhai Sukha Singh. Bhai Sukha Singh Ji was one of the Khalsa Panth's finest and bravest warriors, highly skilled in the art of warfare, Shastra Vidya, and a true servant of the Khalsa Panth. Close friend and associate of Jathedar Bhai Mehtab Singh, and both of these die-hard, battle-hardened warriors do that mission impossible and chop off the head of Massa Rangar. Sukha Singh is born in Pind Gumboki Mari in the house of Bhai Lada and Bibi Haro, and is from the bloodline ancestry of Bhai Lalo. Bhai Lalo was that Gursikh who served Guru Nanak Dev Ji food with great love and affection. He was born in 1452 in the house of Bhai Jagat Ram Gathora in village Saidpur, currently in Ahmedabad, Pakistan. And if you remember back to the Sakhi where Guru Nanak Dev Ji refuses to go and eat at the egotistical palace of Malik Bhago, Guru Sahib instead chooses to eat simple food in the honest, hard-working household of Bhai Lalo. And Bhai Lalo, with great love and pyar and affection, serves Guru Nanak Dev Ji food. And in this Sakhi, Guru Nanak Dev Ji squeezes the roti of Malik Bhago from which blood drips out, and the prasada of Bhai Lalo from which milk drips out, symbolizing the importance of earning your bread through honest means and hard work. This is the bloodline of Bhai Sukha Singh. When Bhai Sukha Singh is very young, his parents get him married off. As was the tradition at the time, they would get their children married off very early, but they would not do the muklava. This is when the bride comes to her new home. This would be done when they are both much older. Bhai Sukha Singh from a young age has great ichha, great excitement to join the Singhs and the Khalsa Panth. He travels to Amritsar alone and he takes Amrit at the hands of Nawab Kapoor Singh Ji at Sri Akal Takht Sahib. And wherever the Panth gets together, he does his best to get there. And there he sits in the Sangat and he listens to Kirtan, Gurbani Path and Gatha. He serves the Singhs and he serves the Panth with great love and affection. He builds pyar and love with many of these Singhs. And when the Singhs come to his village or his area, he would feed them from his house with great love. He built prem with many Singhs and they would visit him from time to time. News of this reached the Mukbars, the Mughal lookouts and the overseers who keep an eye out on the goings on in Punjab, like how many Sikhs in each area, who they link with, how often, and all the comings and goings. They in turn informed the Mughal forces of increased Khalsa and Singh activity in the Pind of Marogumbi, and in particular the home of Bhai Sukha Singh. A small battalion of Mughal forces is dispatched to Pind Marogumbi. At this point in time, Bhai Sukha Singh was away from home. The forces come to his Pind and question everyone. They harassed the whole Pind, especially the mother and father of Bhai Sukha Singh, striking them and beating them. They question his family. "We have heard your son has joined the Khalsa Singhs and keeps close ties with them. We have heard he has taken Amrit and is one of the Khalsa Singhs, and we have heard he serves food from this place to those wretched rebels." The Mughals threaten the villagers, Sukha Singh's parents, and trash their houses. Sukha Singh's parents now know that their son is on the Mughal radar and his days are numbered, and he will eventually be killed or arrested and taken away. They're very scared. They know once Zakaria Khan finds a Singh Parvar, he doesn't let them live in peace, eventually shedding their blood. When Bhai Sukha Singh arrives home, his parents plead with him and they tell him to leave the Singhs. What is the point of living with the Singhs? What would or do you get from them? We are Greeb Sikh Parivar, a poor family. What can we offer the Panth? Leave them alone. Live your life. We have no part to play in their struggle. We earn enough to scrape by. We are poor. We need you to work so we can eat. These Singhs are fighting for sovereignty. We are fighting to feed ourselves. Our struggle is different. Our path is different. What do you want from them? This is the reason many Singhs, when they join the Panth, leave their families. Sukha Singh would spend much of his time with the Khalsa Panth, learning the ways of the Khalsa Panth. His family go on. We have no land. We work daily with wood to get by. We have nothing to fall back on. We are so poor, we are incapable of living. We just about feed ourselves, and you feed the Singhs all that we have. His parents know their son will not give up on the Panth and his Sikhi, especially on his own accord. So, an evil, malicious thought enters their minds. Later that evening, they drug their son with intoxicants. Some say in his sag, they put intoxicants in his sag, and eating this he is knocked unconscious. In that unconscious state, his mind and body are totally lost. And his parents invite a barber into the house to cut and shave the head of Bhai Sukha Singh. And once this nasha comes off and Sukha Singh regains consciousness, realizing he had been knocked out by some intoxicant, on waking up he realizes something sinister had happened and his gears had been cut. His heart was broken. He realized immediately this was the doing of his mother and father. They had drugged him and cut his gears. It was his parents who had destroyed his world, who had broken his trust, who had betrayed him. Sukha Singh thinks to himself, my own parents have become my enemies. They should be the ones joining me to Sikhi, and they're the ones that are breaking me away. Who needs parents like these? And the Sikh Panth, gears are the biggest gift and nishani. And Sukha Singh at this point is in deep thought. Gears are vital in the house of Guru Nanak, and my family cut mine. They did this big paap, this big sin. Parents like this should be killed. But to kill one's parents who put you on earth and raised you is also a great paap. I can't do this, so I will kill myself. Sukha Singh goes out to the bend, to the well, to the deep well, and he jumps in. To commit suicide, he jumps into the well because he's so distraught and upset over what happened. But by some miracle, he survives that deep drop into the well. He doesn't die. So he's at the bottom of the well, and now he's trying to drown himself. Many people in the bend heard the splash. Some saw it and they all come running, and there's a huge commotion at the top of the well, and Sukha Singh's at the bottom of the well in the water trying to drown himself. He doesn't want to live anymore. The bend village people start throwing ropes down to get him out. They lower one of his village brothers down to try and get him out, but Sukha Singh does not want any part of this. He wants to die and is refusing the help, saying, you guys did this to me, let me die. The bend is making commotion at the top, and during this point there's a Nihang Singh warrior who passes by. Seeing the commotion, he comes close and asks about what's going on, and they tell him. The elder Singh then shouts down to Bhai Sukha Singh, if you want to die, then die, but do it fighting the Mughals and the Turks in battle. Do it in battle, chopping their heads off. At least your death will be worth something. Die in a fight, in a battle, in a war. At least kill one of theirs before you go. Why take your own life? This is not the karam or the deed of a surma, a warrior. Get out. The older Singh was Siana. He was very wise. He said the Mughals sat our Guru on the Tatti Tavi, the hot plate. They killed the Char Sahibzade in battle and bricked the younger two alive. Let's fight, and let's die fighting them. Those who torture and kill so many innocent, let's die facing them in battle. To die fighting them in battle is a pala, is a service to mankind. You are not going to die here today. Get out the well. Die as a shaheed in battle. This is my advice to you. We are all going to die, so let's make our deaths worthwhile. Sukha Singh listens to this advice, and he climbs out the kuh, and he joins this Singh and tells the Singh, I'm coming. I will come and join the Panth. Sukha Singh is 13 years old at this time. He fully understands the Singh's view and decides to join the Khalsa Panth again and give his life. He would no longer live at home with his parents or family. This had given him even more resolve in Sikhi, even more resolve that he would die for the Panth, he will live for the Panth, and he will serve the Panth his whole life. He realised at this point it was not his time to die, and he would only die when his time would come, and he believed his time would be in the midst of battle facing the Mughals. I did not die jumping into the well, and I did not die by drowning. Death will only come when the Guru allows it to be, and this is not my time. My time will come in battle. Sukha Singh had conquered his fear of death. No matter the number of enemies, the rain of arrows and bullets, I will only die when it's my time. Thus, conquering the fear of death, which is vital to be a Khalsa, he had been transformed. He would never again back down from any battle. He would never back down from the Turks and the Mughals. He would fight them face to face on the front line, and he would die fighting them in battle. The Sarpanch of Maro Kumbi Bend had a beautiful horse. The Sarpanch's servant would take the horse out to a local lake every morning to give it water, and as it did the next morning, Sukha Singh took that horse and rode off to the Dal. He joined the Dal once again and under Jathedar Akali Baba Sham Singh Ji, who was Bhai Ratan Singh Pangu's Nana Ji, as we discussed in an earlier episode. He took Amrit again from the hands of Bhai Sham Singh Ji, and he joined the Khalsa Panth once again, and he lived in the Panth. Jathedar Sham Singh Ji treated him as a son and taught him the ways of the Khalsa. He trained him well in Shastra Vidya, and Sukha Singh was known for being a great wielder of the sword, and he practiced for many hours every single day. He was highly skilled and is one of the Khalsa Panth's finest warriors. He could fight and defeat anyone in the field of battle. As a few months passed living in the Dal, a thought came to the mind of Bhai Sukha Singh. I stole the Sarpanch's horse, but he is not my enemy. He has never harmed a Singh or done anything against me. I stole his horse. He was a village elder. I should not have disrespected him in this way. I will repay him for this horse, and I will give him the money to its value. Sukha Singh was a man of great morals and had great respect for his village people. Sukha Singh went in disguise to Lahore as a humble Jat farmer. He let his short ears down, which was still growing, and he tied a messy farmer-style turban and clothes. He went alone into the city of Lahore, and he went into the most expensive bazaar where they're selling gold and jewels, and spotting a Mughal government official, he does lutmar. He steals a sack of gold and silver, and he gets out of there on his horse very quickly. No one is able to catch him. He's gone like the wind. Before the Mughals even realise what happened, he's gone and he's out of there, and they're too slow to even chase him. He was that daring, he went into the mouth of death, where even being spotted and recognised as a Singh was death by execution. He gets back and he sends the money to the Bend Sarpanch. 300 rupees for the horse. This was much more than the horse was worth, thus settling any issue with the people of his village. He then went back to Jathedar Sham Singh's Dal, and he put the rest of the money before the Jathedar for the langar and the service of the Singhs. He sent no money to his mother and father because they cut his case, and he was still deeply hurt about what happened. Times were such where many Singhs would live in buggy in jungles trying to survive. They would rob the Mughal tyrants and give the maya and food to the Greeb villages to help them in these tough times. Sukha Singh was a brave Singh and a brave warrior. He helped out many brave and poor families who were part of the Khalsa Panth struggle, and he always helped the Singhs who needed it most. He was one of the most loving Singhs there was. If anyone would harass Sikh families or Singhs, Bhai Sukha Singh would present himself there on the battlefield and face the Mughals, jatkaing them and chopping their heads off in battle. Wherever there was a Judd with the Turks, he would pounce like a Babbar Sher and fight on the battlefield without fear and without ever stepping back. The young warrior Bhai Sukha Singh became well known in the Khalsa Panth. All the Jathadars were aware of who he was, and they would send him on daring missions and have complete faith in him. He would always kill the Mughals and Turks in battle, and even on his own he would fight them without any fear. He was an excellent master at the Ram Janga, the gun, and would snipe a Mughals dead when the time called, and he could reload very quickly. They say he could kill horsemen and a horse with one arrow. He was a master of the spear, the barsha, the talwar, the qatar, and all handheld weapons. Wherever he would strike in battle, whoever he would strike in battle would be unable to beg for water. On his strike they would end up dead. The breath of life would disappear. All his fellow Singhs gave him the utmost respect. He was a beloved member of the Khalsa Panth. And wherever he fought on a mission, he would do for their victory and come back. He would never accept defeat, and he was never defeated. And in the Khalsa Divans, he would never show any ego, any hankar. He was always humble. He was always doing seva, selfless service. He would fan his fellow Singhs. He would spend many hours cleaning the dishes, the pure iron bartan, batte, the cooking utensils of the Khalsa. He always did Degdi Seva. He read lots of Gurbani. He would massage the Singhs and serve the horses, massaging them, giving them grass to eat and giving them ishnan. He would be the Singh that went out to cut and collect firewood from the jungles and the forests for the Singhs' warmth and for their cooking. He would go far and wide to collect fresh water for thirsty Singhs, and for hungry Singhs he would go and gather atta and dal. He would often go in disguise. He would massage the old Singhs and give them ishnan, collecting water. He would wash the Bujurg's feet and their clothes and look after them. He would serve the older Singhs, standing by with water when they were waking up to do their datan, brush their teeth. He had immense amount of Gurbani kant, and he would always be reciting Gurbani to the elder Singhs and in Sangat. He was a master of Tanti Saj Kirtan as well, and he would keep a Kamar Kasa 24/7, and he was always armed with multiple Jangi Shastra, and he would have a full Damalan all the time, covered in Shastra. He did lots of seva on the Singhs, and he saw them as the Roop of the Guru. He was always ready to fight and never back down, and he was involved in every morcha that took place, every battle, every skirmish that took place. He was there, and he would invite fights on, and he would face them head on. Many times his parents would come to visit him in the Dal. They would beg the elder Singhs and the Jathadars and plead with them to send Sukha Singh home, but Sukha Singh would not go. He was really hurt over what they did. As time passed, Sukha Singh grew older. His fame grew within the Panth, and he was really famous and loved. And around the age of 18, his parents came to the Dal and they begged for him to return home. They wanted to get his muklava done. If we remember back, he got married when he was very young, and now the girl's side were asking for the muklava to be done so the girl could enter her marital home. They told the elder Jathadar Singhs that Sukha Singh is married, and the girl's side are pleading with us for this to be done now. The Jathadar Singhs respected the girl's side and their daughter of those parents and told Sukha Singh, go. You are married and a promise has been made, so you must take care of this daughter. Go and live a family life, but always return to us. Sukha Singh did this. But as times were hard and Sukha Singh was known amongst the enemies of the Panth, he would not stay home often. He would visit home under the cover of darkness, stay with his family and serve them, but he would always come back to the Dal. The Khalsa Panth was his first love. And also there was safety in the Singhs and safety in the Dal. But he would visit home regularly. After a year or so, Bhai Sukha Singh's wife becomes pregnant. Bhai Sukha Singh is in the Dal, serving the Khalsa. and his wife gives birth to a baby girl. Shortly after the baby girl is born, she dies. Sukha Singh is unaware of this because he's in the Panth at this time, but gossip of this girl reaches the Panth, and it's that in Sukha Singh's home a girl was born and she died, and the rumour was the family killed the baby girl. Immediately the Singhs order Sukha Singh to be separated from the rest of the Panth and not be allowed in any Khalsa Panth activities. His dishes, his banda, his bata was separated. He was no longer allowed to do any langar seva or serve the horses or the Singhs. He wasn't allowed to massage them or wash their dishes or bring them water. He wasn't allowed to touch any of their kapre, their clothes, their sarlo bartan, and he wasn't allowed to sit close to them. The Khalsa does not associate with Gurimar, those who kill girls or their daughters. He wasn't allowed to eat with their Singhs. He had to eat on his own separately and cook his own food. He had become an outcast of the Panth. Where he was once one of the most respected Singhs and loved, he had become hated and ignored and not allowed in many of the Khalsa Panth's activities. Sukha Singh pleaded with the Singhs. The child died of natural causes, and even if they did kill her, which they didn't, I wasn't there. I was here with you. This has nothing to do with me. I had no idea that it happened. You guys found out before me. However, the Singh said, no, a female child died in your house. This cannot be forgiven. Sukha Singh became very upset, and these worries started to eat him inside. He was very sad and depressed, and he went from hero to zero to no fault of his own. The whole Khalsa started to say his family and his wife killed their baby girl. For this reason, there was a black mark against the name of Bhai Sukha Singh. He had broken the Khalsa's Maryada. The Singhs would not let him do seva, and they wouldn't even say Fateh to him. They would not let him touch any of the Singh's stuff or clothes or dishes. Sukha Singh was now alone, and he was always sad and upset. From giving advice to the generals about battle tactics and sitting amongst them as a loved member, he became an outcast and he wasn't even spoken to. For this reason, he was always sad and upset and depressed. This is the story, the Sakhi, of how Sukha Singh, as a youth, joined the Khalsa Panth and became a great famed warrior, fearless and well respected amongst the hardiest of generals, to now becoming outcast and pushed to the outskirts and becoming sad and upset and depressed through something that was no fault of his own. The malicious rumours has caused this great change in the life of this young hero. And in the next episode, we will hear about how Sukha Singh moves forward with this, and how still this hardship displays great bravery to overcome this obstacle that has changed the course of his life. Bol chuk maaf karna. Vaheguru ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki Fateh.